Well, the Horn of Africa is in turbulence as we've been reporting. Several armed conflicts and political crises are currently going on in different countries in the sub-region, threatening to destabilize it, from the recent military coup in Sudan to the civil war in Ethiopia, the political crisis in Somalia, and the stalled peace process in South Sudan. The conflicts have caused untold death and misery over the past few years. Well, for more on that, we're now joined by Victor Cohen, the African Youth Initiative Network based in Kampala, Uganda, to discuss this further. Victor, thank you so much for joining us in Africa Live. What issues are fueling instability in the Horn of Africa?
Well, thank you so much. It is true that when you look through the Horn of Africa, left or right, you see the suffering. There's been political turbulence over and again, and the region has been in the consistent crisis of humanitarian needs and pressure. And we see that also the region where majority of the population are under pressure for, change, either positive change or violent change. I think the biggest cause of this instability in the region is one driving factor, which I know for sure is uh, the ethnic supremacy role. There's a lot of ethnicization of politics of the region, where it's identity-based politics. Majority of these countries in the region have gotten into a crisis of uh, unaddressed historical injustices based on identities that has been for long been underlooked in a way that people have not been able to come to a coherent condition where we promote national cohesion, peace, and stability. It's been politics of tribalism, politics of identity, politics of ethnicity. So you find that whether you look at it in Somalia, whether you look at it in Ethiopia or Sudan, and even all these neighboring regions, there's going to definitely be more crises along the way because one, we have not been able to address the tribal question. We have not been able to dissect the ethnic dilemma in the regional democracy. But that's where it has been very prominent. And then another challenge is I see that's also the generational mistrust. There's been over the time the growing mistrust between the younger and older generation when it comes to political leadership. And the young people who have been born in war, grew up in suffering, and they have never had an opportunity to breathe. So in a way, a majority of this population are yearning for when will the real change come so that they become part of it. And of course, the other last most important thing is, which has not been addressed also for long, is the external power. What we see, what's going in Sudan and also in Somalia, in Ethiopia, and all that. There's so much external power that is putting pressure on the local. But the big question is, won't we have another Afghanistan in the Horn of Africa? And the question would be, which country would be the next Afghanistan in the Horn of Africa? What we saw in Afghanistan probably has inspired more of what we're seeing right now.
Victor, the issues that you mentioned sound very, very deep rooted. What kind of intervention do you believe the region needs to save lives and also to just ensure that people can get out of this the situation, the crises that we continue to see?
What I know for sure right now, the region as it is, there's too much movement, cross-border movement, back and forth. People are running for safety. People are moving from one country to another country, crossing borders. But the challenge that has not been properly handled has been a political question. We have not been able to have like a regional platform which is promoting an effort geared toward peaceful resolutions of conflict. There's been many intellectual academic analysis and report that has highlighted the plights of the communities, but the plights of the population, and it has always predicted what would come if nothing is done. But not so much has been put into actions. There's so much talk about what should be done in the region, but very little has been done to engage meaningfully. 2 years ago, I engaged in the continental study on the role of youth in peace and security, and I was working for Eastern Horn of Africa. I could hear, I could feel the pain that the majority of the young population feel. And it has become an incident where after every 15 to 10 years, of 10 to 15 or 20 years, there's mass atrocities in the region. Reasons being generation grows in pain, they survive pain, and they continue to look for change in pain. The big issue is we have been only trying to address pain with pain, which has been a problem in the region. The young people need to be brought on board meaningfully. Politicians need to understand the need to go beyond tribal identity-based politics. And then we also need to address the economic pressure that is causing all this mass migration across the region. If you move around the world, majority of the refugees around the world come from Eastern Horn of Africa. Why are we the leading exporters of refugees all over the world? It's because we have failed to address our questions at home. So we need to engage Africans, the young people, majority being the young who are the victims, should be brought on board as change makers. They're the game changers, but they need to be engaged meaningfully. Not only should we put them in the front line, let's bring them to the dialogue and engage in mediation processes.
Victor, thank you so much for your insights and sharing your experience and knowledge with us. Victor Cohen, Director at the African Youth Initiative Network based in Kampala, Uganda.